Hey, what's good, y'all? It's your boy JD6 here. I'm with my man. Shout out to KC Sports Authority. Make sure y'all go check that podcast out, man.
You heard the man.
What up, guys? Welcome into the KC Sports Authority podcast. All three of us here with you tonight to talk a little bit about the news that broke about Riley Kugel not coming to Kansas now that is officially announced. We'll get into that, talk about how that could impact the rest of the roster, what KU might do with that open scholarship, and what kind of player they might go after. But first, just a couple quick reminders. If you are new to the podcast, thank you so much for checking us out. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button below here on YouTube where you can watch our podcast. You can also give us a listen over on Spotify. Wherever you do check us out, though, from, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Again, you can also hit us up on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at KCSA Pod. And if you haven't checked it out yet, make sure you go check out our latest episode that is also posted this week with Devin Neal, KU football running back Devin Neal. Had a lot of fun having him on the pod with JB and I. Got a good time talking with him about coming back for his senior year and what the Hawks might have in store for us with this upcoming season. So go check that out over on YouTube if you haven't. It was a lot of fun. But guys, let's get into it. The news broke earlier today, which by the time this is posted, it'll be Thursday. But on Wednesday, we got the news after a week and a half or two of the commentary being that Riley Kugel may not ever step foot into a Kansas uniform. And that is officially announced now that he is not coming to Kansas. So he is gone out of the program. Academic issues, not going to get into the details of that. But my question really is to you two as well, to our listeners. Do we care and should we care?
All right. Answer to both questions is yes and yes.
I knew you would say yes and yes to both.
It's a little controversial. Okay, look, I have messed up in the past. I need to, we're gentlemen on this pod, and we admit our faults. We admit when we're wrong. And I remember when we first got news about Riley Kugel committing to Kansas, I was like, I'm not so happy about it. I was wrong. I think Riley Kugel would have been a fantastic addition to the team. The way that this offseason has gone has been tremendous. It seems like we're getting all the guys we want, all the guys we need, and we're set up for success. But part of that success comes with having a deep bench. And the conversation is always, well, Bill Self doesn't get too deep and when it comes to March and when it comes to late in the season, we have a tight rotation. I don't care. It's about having the option. It's about having the depth, especially in case of injury. I mean, we were just completely broken by the end of the season when we were losing our guys left and right. Kevin McCullough was done for the season, and we just looked like a sorry excuse for a Kansas team. Riley Kugel's going to be a guy that can help prevent from that, or at least I should say he would have been a guy that can help prevent that from happening. And now that we don't have that option, it kind of hurts. He can be that spark plug off the bench that we really would have loved to see, just in case a guy like El Marco or Jamari doesn't have a huge step up in their sophomore season. Riley Kugel would have been that proven scorer that can be the spark plug off the bench.
Yeah, I mean, I think nobody's going to say, I don't care that Kansas lost an athletic shot creator to come off their bench. I don't think anybody would have that mindset. I think if you are going to look at the bright side of it, kind of like JV mentioned, now there's really no safety net for Jamari or El Marco to not take a step forward. So you really, at this point, you're going to either see growth from them, or you're going to see them kind of stay the course and may not be here the next year. So I think the best part of this is that it does open opportunity for them to grow, and they're not going to get stunted by crowded minutes of 1 and 2 guards coming off the bench. So yes, it's a bummer. It's a tough loss. Again, he's an athlete. He's a great shot creator. His dad would have been an enforcer in Allen Fieldhouse. We're going to miss all of this stuff. But I do think some of our younger guys can step up, and it even opens the door for Furphy to come back and a whole other things to happen too.
Yeah, I think, I mean, once the word came out that there was a strong chance Kugel either wasn't going to play this season or leave the program entirely, I kind of already, not necessarily checked out, but moved on from him. Not that we ever really got him. But I had a good feeling that he was either going to be redshirting because of the academic issues, or at best, I mean, he was maybe the second guy off the bench, the seventh man, the eighth man, ninth man, 10th man. He was going to be competing for those backup bench minutes. And I know, Spencer, you weren't on with us, but when we were talking about the additions of Storr and Griffin and kind of really getting into the lineups and all that, it was pretty evident that even with the team we had up until yesterday, the 12 guys, Kugel was going to be fighting for playing time. And I'm not saying that El Marco or Jamari were guaranteed any minutes ahead of him, or even the incoming freshmen like Badunga and Rakis Passmore were ahead of him either. But in reality, Kugel, I think, was still going to be fighting for minutes. Now, I do think there is some important aspect of he was the first guy Bill Self grabbed in the portal, so clearly he liked him. My guess is I'm thinking that might have been more long term than short term. Maybe, hey, if we can get him to do 2 years here and really develop, great. Because the guy does have some good skill set. He's a shot creator, and we saw his capabilities. You know, there's a video you can go back and check out of me talking about Kugel, saying that he's got this nice little spin move jumper, good mid-range game, spot-up shooter when he can be, a guy that can attack the paint. So you do lose the shot creation ability there, but I'm also not worried because we brought over Zeke, who is the shot creator, the bucket getter, the straight-up shooter. You brought in Rylan Griffin, who's a knockdown three-point shooter, solid athlete that can attack the paint if need be. Maybe not to the same level. And, of course, you get your big bucket getter in A.J. Storr. So I don't think I'm really – I don't know if I care that much that Riley
Oh
Kugel
my
is gone,
God.
and it feels bad saying that. But again, we didn't have any expectations. I mean, we sat here a year ago and we had 7 guys exit the program, and then we also lost Chris Johnson. And I remember sitting here a year ago going, "Man, we just lost Chris Johnson to the portal. We only have one other point guard on this team in El Marco who's got 3 years of playing time." And at the time, I was like, "Man, this really sucks." But then 2-3 weeks later, I'm going, "Well, in reality, he's going to be far enough down the depth chart that is he going to make that much of an impact that he can't be replaced with somebody else." Now, we saw this year that El Marco playing the backup one kind of hurt us. It may be a guy like Chris Johnson could have had an impact, but in reality, he did nothing at Texas this last year. So I don't know if I care as much. I don't think it's going to hurt us as much because I don't know what the level of impact Kugel was going to have given the additions of all those guys that came after him. That being said, obviously that opens up a scholarship spot. So now we're sitting at 11. There's still Furphy still up in the air. I'm 65-35 on Furphy stays in the draft. If he's a first round pick, there's no reason to come back. You know, if he's not getting first round grades or he doesn't perform well at his combine or any individual workouts, sure, take him back because, yes, we're still going to be loaded with talent. But in reality, I think the conversation is still Kugel was going to be a bench guy. He was not going to be starting. There's no way he was going to get the starting spot over Rylan Griffin or Zeke Mayo at the 2 spot. Now, could he be the first guard off the bench? Sure. But in reality, just like we said, unless Bill Self completely changes his philosophy, he's going to probably get 15 minutes a night. So in that 15 minutes, is the impact he provide any better, the same, or worse than another option of somebody else we could bring in? To me, his play style was not going to be, team changing, program changing type of talent for this upcoming year specifically, given the guys we already have acquired. Because now it's Hunter's back. The offense is going to run through Hunter. AJ Storr's going to go get his. Rylan Griffin's going to hit open threes. And then Zeke, if he's starting or coming off the bench, he's going to be that spark plug of offense. So, again, I don't think I'm stressing about it. I don't think I'm worried about it. I think the question for me is, where do we go next? KU's been the frustrating thing with the timing of this is you've got all the guys that have declared for the draft. And, of course, there's a handful of them that could return. But the transfer portal is kind of wrapped up. Nobody else can, declare for the portal now, but there's guys still in the portal. And I'm not saying it's slim pickings, but up until 3 days ago, there were quite a few other guys available. Some of them KU was in on, a guard in Jordan Ivy Curry from, UT SA, who now does not have Kansas in his top 3. Maybe that changes with Kugel being gone. You got Wooga Poplar, who is technically declared for the draft out of Miami, but is looking like a candidate that could possibly withdraw his name. Another guy in Jackson Robinson that's been talked about from BYU, their top scorer from last year, also has declared for the draft and is going to go through that process. But outside of that, the names are starting to go away. Kobe Bray, KU was very much in on, chooses Kentucky. Now, I think that was hey, I'm going to take the opportunity with the most potential playing time to have the biggest impact. So now KU's just kind of left with this, all right, do we go after someone with a high ceiling? Do we go after someone with a high floor? That's going to be that depth piece. Do we feel good enough with El Marco and McDowell coming into year 2 that they can enhance their play style? And then one, you guys have heard me say this with you. I am very, very high on Rakeese Passmore. I think he's getting slept on. We're going to have to make a sweet reel and kick that out here soon of Rakeese Passmore highlights because he's a freak of an athlete. I think he can come in right away and make an impact. Now, completely different play style from what Riley Kugel is. But I think that's why I'm not stressing as much because in reality, yes, I think Kugel was going to be fighting for depth minutes. And in the long run, how much of an impact is that going to be? I don't know. I would be more concerned with the 3 guys ahead of him that came after him as being the guys that need to show up. So that's kind of where I sit. I don't have a ton of names that I'm going to throw in there. I know we've got a couple, the 3 of us mentioned offline before. But before we get into names, where do you guys want to see KU go? Obviously, they're going to fill at least one more spot. I'm of the opinion they keep the 13th spot open just in case Furphy decides to come back, or there's a guy that pulls out of the draft they really like. But sitting at 11, they still need to get a 12th, and I'm pretty convinced it's going to be a guard. But where do you guys see that going, or want to see it go?
I mean, I see that too. I actually wouldn't mind a backup point guard. It feels like we don't have that. I know that we do. I know that Zeke Mayo. I mean, dude's a stud, and it's wild to me. He has a 50-50 shot at starting, and if he's coming off the bench, he's a backup ball handler as well. A tremendous passer. So maybe I'm just dumb, but I feel like if we are playing Zeke Mayo as more of a shooter, it'd be nice to kind of have, a backup ball handler. I could see point guard, shooting guard. I really, it's just whatever Kugel was going to be for us. That's what we got to fill.
Yeah, a backup ball handler would be nice. So, DeJuan can have a little bit of the ball handling load taken off his back, especially if we play someone like West Virginia, if we play somebody that presses. Be nice to have somebody, DeJuan can go to the bench and we don't turn it over against the press. So that would be number one. I like the question of whether or not a high ceiling or a low floor would be more useful here. I think we have a bunch of guys that have low floors already. So I'd like to see almost us grab sort of an investment type player. So maybe we have him here. He gets not necessarily minimal minutes, but he gets, maybe some of the lesser minutes in terms of the normal rotation, have him develop a little bit in the background, and then maybe we have a piece going into next year. And that could be somebody like a combo guard, somebody with good size that's got a decent shot that can come in and still keep spacing okay. So there's a couple different routes we can go. I'm definitely in agreement of keeping a spot for Furphy open because if he does want to come back, I'm kind of with you. I don't think he should. I think if you're a lottery pick, you stay at this point. But I would like that option personally. I think he's good enough to at least hold our spot there.
Yeah, he's got the talent. I think I'm with you. To me, I almost feel like it's going to be, it's kind of frustrating now because LeBaron Philon left, and this would be like a good opportunity for him to like, hey, maybe I should have just waited 2 weeks for this Kugel stuff to get figured out and stay. But now it looks like Philon's going to stick with Alabama. Mark Sears is going to come back, and Philon's going to back up an All-American. So I think he's still in a good spot. But I'm looking at a guy like that who is comfortable coming off the bench, or possibly even redshirting. Maybe we go after a guard that's because we still need to have a point guard of the future after DeJuan Harris graduates. And if the team or Bill Self or the fan base is not super comfortable or confident in Elmarco Jackson being that future guy, even if you are, you still need somebody else. You still need at least one other guy for the future. And as of right now, with LeBaron Philon leaving, KU does not have a point guard under signed for the 2025 season. Now they're in the running for quite a few. Darius Acuff to be the main guy, and now I'm going blank on his name, but he's the third-ranked point guard in the class for next year. Just reopened his recruiting process, so and KU was one of his top choices. So they've got some guys that they'll be able to go after, but maybe they find a guy that struggled as a freshman somewhere this last year that's willing to come in and either eat a year as a red shirt or just forego a year to where he's not going to play much, but just truly develop to be in the running for competition next year. So I think that's what I'm looking at. I don't think it's going to be anything other than a guard. I think we're set at all the other spots. Hunter being back, Flory coming in as the backup 5. The combination of Hunter Dickinson, Flory, Zach Clements, and KJ. There's your 4 and 5 guys, with AJ Storr spelling a little bit of time at the 4. And of course, if Furphy came back, then you throw Furphy in there. So I really don't think this loss of Kugel does much in the rotation sense, in the bigger picture, as far as lineups go. Because again, I think he's going to be competing for those backup spots. But a couple of guys that KU could look at, in the transfer portal. I'll see if my list will pull back up. There's I think, Spencer, this is one that you would be very high on, and he has declared for the draft, but is a likely candidate to potentially return. That's Cameron Christie out of Minnesota, the younger brother of now Laker Max Christie. Similar kind of player, 6'5", shooting guard that's got a high ceiling as a three-point shooter. Not really expected to do a ton else, but that's why he's in the draft, because this isn't a very deep shooters class. So Cam Christie would be a very interesting one. But a lot of these other guys have already declared and gone other places. I think the next most likely one's Wooga Poplar out of Miami, like we previously mentioned. But JB, you had an interesting one that I've thought about, haven't spent a lot of time on, because I don't know if KU is the best fit for what he might want, but I would take him as a player because he's been around, he's experienced, he's played for a good coach, he knows how to play defense. Might not be on the best winning culture the last couple of years, but the guy knows how to play ball. And that's AJ Hoggard out of Michigan State.
That's right.
Listed at a point guard, shooting guard, 3 guard. He's played all sorts of positions. He is also declared for the draft, but is maintaining his eligibility by being in the transfer portal. So he could be an interesting fit. But JB, what are your thoughts on him?
Well, I would take him in a heartbeat. I mean, this is like Remy Martin level good for me. That's the best comparison I can give you and the fans and anyone that's listening to us, to kind of get an idea of like the caliber of player that we could get.
You're talking impact, not play style, but like impact.
Right.
Yeah,
impact. Because I mean, man, this guy's experienced. You mentioned it. He's a great defender. The only problem is, I mean, he's been a starter for Tom Izzo at Michigan State all this time, and he's not going to come off the bench. If he comes to Kansas, he has to start. And we've already been talking about what's the starting lineup going to be like. So if he came to Kansas, what are we looking at? Does he push DeJuan to the bench? No. Because Bill would never do that. We would have to start DeJuan and AJ Hoggard, and we would have to be looking at, I'm sorry for all the KJ truthers, I think we have to start pushing KJ down and Zeke Mayo down, because it would probably be Griffin, Storr, and Hunter rounding out the starting 5 if we were to get him. It's very unlikely. But like, we talk about building a roster that could essentially be a lock for a national title. You add AJ Hoggard to this team. Wow. I mean, place your bets now. I mean, it's a wrap.
I still feel good enough with the roster we have to compete.
Right.
But yeah, AJ Hoggard, he would definitely fit the mold, but I don't think the situation is going to make sense for him. Yeah, so he's not coming off the bench. And I feel better with the versatility of Zeke, Griffin, and Storr, that I don't think we need Hoggard. But Spencer, are there any names out there, anybody that makes sense with what's left to pick from?
Well, like you said, I like Cam Christie a lot, and the good news is that Darvin Ham isn't coaching the Jayhawks, so we could actually use Christie directly. And not
Isn't that crazy? Quick side note for anyone that cares, and I know Spencer's a LeBron guy, so he likes to talk a little bit about the Lakers. But the Lakers' best plus minus, most efficient lineup in the playoffs and towards the end of the year was with Max Christie on the floor, and he played like I think 10 total minutes in the playoffs.
Correct.
It's a shame.
Yes, the Darvin Ham masterclass. But no, I like Christie a lot because he shot around 39%. He averaged the double digits. He's the kind of guy that, again, you get a weapon coming off your bench. You get good size coming off your bench. You get someone that doesn't screw up spacing. So that's I think somebody that we could benefit from, especially coming after a year where we at times struggled to rebound the ball because KJ at times hasn't been the best at boxing out. Hunter can only grab so many boards a game. So having a lot of big body guards like when we had CB and when we had Wilson to come in there and clean up the boards a little bit along with the bigs, I think that would be someone that would be pretty ideal sliding into that 11th or 12th spot, even if it's only for 10, 15 minutes a game. That'll be a good 10, 15 minutes a game from someone like that.
Yeah, and Christie could be similar to what KU fans saw in the potential of what Kobe Bray could be here. Now, I think Kobe Bray's a little bit more lethal of a shooter, but Cam Christie's got long athletic body. He comes from a shooting style family, so I think he'd be interesting there. But again, I just keep coming back to whoever this 12th person is. I think it's going to be more depth. I think it's going to be more long-term futuristic approach. Someone that is comfortable coming in and either not getting a ton of playing time or being okay with not having to have a lot of playing time early to be a developmental piece. I've also seen plenty of fans already also throw out there the last few weeks, what about Arterio Morris? He got cleared, this and that. Maybe we go back. He's in the portal. I don't think you can go that route. Once you kick a guy off the team, you can't really come back from that. I don't think. I mean, even the Chiefs. There's been plenty of people saying, "Hey, go get Kareem Hunt again." But no, once you've had your opportunity, it doesn't work out. Yeah, you're not coming back from it. So I don't think that's likely. But yeah, I think Cam Christie would be my top. I guess if you had to say, "Hey, Keegan, give me your best estimate of what happens with the 12th and 13th spot." With the talk that's gone on lately, without knowing of any other names KU's in on currently in talks, to me, it's either going to be a freshman that opens his letter of intent because of a coaching change,
Yep.
or they're going to hold both those spots for guys that pull out of the draft. I don't think in the portal currently there is a guard that is worth noting right now. I mean, there's probably 50 other guards out there we could talk about, but nobody's going to have any clue of who we're talking about. So I think that's where they go, where KU goes right now with Bill Self. Again, I'm very high on Rakeese Passmore, and I think if you read between the lines on what Bill Self likes in his wings, I don't know how much playing time we'll get, but I think there's intent that he could make an impact year one, more so than what a guy like Jamari McDowell did this last year. And then again, with the development of El Marco and Jamari over the offseason, you hope you get to see El Marco should take a big leap forward, and that should fulfill the off the bench backup guard that plays with energy, because we still know he plays with a high motor and he's electric. He just needs to figure out what his game's going to be. So that's kind of where I stand. I don't think I have any other takes on it currently. Anything else you guys got?
I mean, I think you're spot on. There's, like you said earlier, there's a lot of talent in the transfer portal, but it's full of guys that are either at a position that we are not trying to recruit for right now, or it's full of guys that are seniors that are wanting
gonna want the playing time right away.
They want the playing time. They want a starting role in whatever they're going to do. They want to be the guy. They want to be the man. They've proven themselves at their smaller school. They want to move to a big time program and be the guy. We don't need the guy. We have 6 guys. Okay,
so we got 8 guys capable of starting on the team right now.
We got so many.
That's why I wonder, like with the Kugel thing, and maybe we'll find out more over the next couple of weeks whenever Bill Self officially talks about it. I wonder if there was any thought then of, okay, well, was this a Bill Self saying, hey, you're not going to be eligible, so we're going to go a different direction? Was this Kugel going, hey, I'm not coming into redshirt just because I'm having academic issues. I'll go find playing time somewhere else. I'll be curious to see how that breaks down, because part of my thought process was, well, if he's not going to be academically eligible, then just take a redshirt. Isn't that, if I'm not wrong, isn't that what we had to do with Ben McLemore when he signed with KU? He graduated early but wasn't quite eligible, so he had to sit out his first season here, but was on the team. DeJuan did the same thing his freshman year at KU. He basically was a an academic redshirt of sorts because he wasn't necessarily cleared. So I wonder what that conversation was like. If Kugel was open to that, maybe this was Kugel's camp saying, hey, we're confident that we can become eligible. We'll just figure out it being somewhere else. Maybe now Kugel, I think it's too late for Kugel to put his name into the draft, so he's kind of screwed there. But maybe he finds a different route elsewhere. I also feel bad, though. I mean, again, don't want to talk about Arterio Morris, but a guy who's entered the transfer portal, there's been not a single conversation I can find anywhere of where he's looking at. But yeah, that's all I got. Anything else you guys want to add on this for now? Obviously, we'll know more in the next coming days. I don't think anything is going to come out of who's getting signed until we get closer to because I think we're still a month out from the NBA Combine, or 3 weeks, something like that, and the early withdrawal deadline is like June 16th or something. So I think it might be a quiet week or two on the KU front, unless there's just a portal guy that I'm just leaving blank off of our list that KU brings in. So we might hear a couple of visits that come up, but I don't know. I don't think there's really going to be much else basketball-wise we'll hear over the next couple of weeks.
Probably not for a while, but I want to assure anyone that's listening and doubting this upcoming season, trust me, we're still solid.
Oh, yeah.
Without Riley
We're going to have the best 1 through 5 in the country.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
I know we said that this last year, but
yeah, and I'll take him back. There's always a chance that he could come back. You never know, and maybe he redshirts and figures it out. We're certainly going to have no roster after this next year, like everyone's gone. But we have so much guys. It's Bill Self, and it's always figured out every single time. I mean, this time last year, our roster looked a lot different.
Yeah, 7 guys going out, and we're going, who the heck's going to be on this roster? And then it starts to come together.
Yeah, I mean, and with how late we got Johnny Furphy last season, it's like there's going to be somebody that comes, and whether they redshirt or whether they plan to try to fight for minutes, it's fine. But we'll probably get somebody. I think what you said about Marquise Passmore is spot on. We're not talking about him enough. We will start talking about him more. Marquise Passmore is someone that we need to keep our eyes on because he might just be the Johnny Furphy for this season.
Spencer, you got anything else?
No, I think that's a good point. And I do think that people's feelings about this team probably shouldn't have changed much after this. Yeah. It's going to be probably the same roster that you would have saw.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like the same impact that it was hearing Arterio Morris was going to leave. Like, we knew Arterio Morris was kind of the missing link this last year for a lot of what that team needed. This year, we're loaded. I mean, that's just accurate. We're loaded. Even without Kugel, we're still loaded. So yeah, not much to worry about there. But yeah, we'll wrap up there. Again, appreciate you guys checking us out. Again, reminder, if you haven't done so yet, go check out that episode we did with Devin Neal. Super fun. A lot of great stuff with him. He had a lot of cool things to say about his time in Kansas, and what this upcoming year could mean for him with, breaking some potential all-time records, as well as hopefully propelling Kansas even further with the possible outlook of a college football playoff appearance. Right now, if you want to go bet, KU is plus 750 to win the Big 12 championship, and plus 2,500 to win or 2,500, maybe it's 25,000 to win the. I don't know. I'm gonna botch it, so I'll just leave it there. But they're like 22nd best odds to win the college football playoff. Devin Neal and Jalen Daniels are both top 20 Heisman candidates from what I've been able to find. So yeah, go check out that episode. It was a lot of fun. Again, if you're watching here on YouTube, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. If you haven't noticed this yet, you guys can also, and I don't have the ability to show you here, but if we ever do a live episode or you guys love one of our episodes a lot, you can now support us financially. There on the bottom, they'll give you an option to send us a tip, just like you would going out to service anywhere. If you like the episodes and you want to support us financially, we would love that. Any support you guys want to give us would be great. All that would just kind of turn around and help us put out more content for you. So yeah, if you want to know how to get involved with us financially and kind of help us take off, even if it's not here on YouTube as a super chat or a tip, if you want to promote your business with us and do some sponsorship marketing, hit us up. We'd love to do that. Or if you're checking us out on Spotify on the go, again, make sure you like and follow the podcast there. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all that, Twitter at KCSA Pod. There's a lot of stuff rolling right now, like we were always saying, between basketball, football, baseball, all sorts of stuff. We got a lot of fun things planned, and Devin was just the first of many fantastic guests we have planned for the next couple months. So again, appreciate you guys checking us out as always, and hope to continue to get your support as we move forward. So until next time, guys, rock chalk.
Rock chalk.
Rock chalk.